Good evening, everyone.
Hello again.
Great to be here in the spotlight with Girish. But Vinod was fantastic. Avinash will remember we had Vinod in India for NASCOM many years ago. We brought him to India, and that was my beginning of my journey of getting, the bridge built between India and the US. This was started in 2010. And also about 4 or 5 years ago, Priya Rajan and I and Indiaspora, we hosted an event for Indian entrepreneurs who moved to Silicon Valley. I think there were about 15 people, right? And look at this audience here. It's incredible. So how many of you are entrepreneurs? Okay, almost. How many of you are investors? Okay, this is great. This is a good meat market. So great to be here. On behalf of Indiaspora, just some of you are our members. I just want to introduce a couple of people. Where's Sanjeev Joshipura? He's our executive director of Indiaspora. And also we have a board member, Arun Kumar. Where is Arun? Oh, he stepped out. Sorry, he's not going to get recognized. So Indiaspora is a network, a global network of people who want to be a force for good. And one of the areas of focus for us is entrepreneurship. And that's how, in that context, got to know Girish years ago when I used to attend his, what was your annual user group called, Girish? Refresh in Chennai. Yeah. And that's when I got to know Girish. And at that time, he was living in India, in Chennai, and then moved over to the US. So this session is called From Madras to NASDAQ. It should be called Chennai to NASDAQ.
No, Madras to NASDAQ.
Okay. So, because when you started, it was Madras.
Yeah,
okay.
No, Madras is an emotion, right?
Okay, here are two guys from Madras arguing about the name.
I'll tell you just a short story. I also am running a charity youth academy, soccer academy. Here you call it soccer, football academy. So it's called FC Madras. So the tagline there is, football is our passion, Madras is our emotion. So,
fantastic.
By the way, before we go into the questions, I just want to make one ground rule. In any SaaSBOOMi event, we actually make a request to all the participants that, we believe in sharing and being open and being vulnerable. So now I'm a public company CEO, so please do not tweet anything that you hear here. You don't want to create trouble. And I'm not planning on saying anything controversial, but just for SaaSBOOMi, we always have this rule where we are a community and a family that takes care of each other. So
fantastic. So Girish, let's start with the journey, right? You were in India when I met you first. You moved to the US. Talk about how you came to Silicon Valley and your early experience in the US.
So I think let me start by telling you that during the journey of Freshworks in 2013, my investors actually said, Girish, why don't you move to the US and start building the go-to-market team here? And I actually told them, no, I have to be in Chennai to run Freshworks. Right? And at that time, we only had Chennai office. In fact, in 2016, like one of our well-wishers, investors actually said, Girish, I don't know how you built Freshworks to $54 million from India, but it's now time to move to the Valley and hire the big boys and girls and actually scale the company. And I actually said, no, I want to build it. In 2018, when I was doing an Inc. Talks speech, I actually said, why is Silicon Valley Silicon Valley? Is it because of VC funding? No, money is available in India. Is it because of the government? At that time, we had Trump here. That cannot be the case, right? So the true reason I said is it's the talent pool and the ecosystem, the been there, done the talent. And that is lacking in India. And if I can create thousands of employees in India who are learning by doing, making mistakes, but they actually become people who know, like you heard Vinod talk about, you can build in India, but build for the globe. That's exactly the journey that we're going. And today we are paying the price of our success with all the VC funding that's happening in startups. Everybody's coming and hiring from Freshworks as if you can't get talent from anywhere else. And people who are like managers are being offered like head of technology and head of marketing. But I actually was stubbornly in Chennai. So I'm giving all this precursor. So all my investors, board members figured out that this guy will not move out of Chennai, and they stopped asking. And in 2019, I surprised everybody by saying I want to move to Chennai, so to the US. So in fact, the number one question in the town hall in 2019 was like, G, why are you, people, my employees call me G. So they said, why are you moving to the US now? And I gave a long answer that's on SoundCloud, but the shorter version is, see, we wanted to truly create this moment where to show the world that you can build a global product company out of India. You can start a startup and actually go public, take it public in the US. And one of the challenges for me in 2018, even after getting $100 million of ARR, I could not attract top candidates to be a CFO. Like, again, what Vinod was saying, you have to hire the talent. See, we started in India, but we didn't want to build Girish's company, or like, we are proud of our Indian roots, but we want to build a global company. We want to hire the best talent that's there. I couldn't get top CFOs, sitting CFOs or CMOs or chief revenue officer. Nobody would even interview because I was sitting in Chennai, and if they have to be here, it's a brutal time zone difference. We all know that. So as the captain, I decided that, okay, I have to field the best team possible, because that moment, that milestone was very, very important, not just for Freshworks, it's for the entire ecosystem that we wanted to be. We had the opportunity to almost do like what Infosys did, right? Like to be the first SaaS startup from India to go public on NASDAQ. So I convinced my wife we were very comfortable in Chennai, but nobody liked it. But we decided to move, and I think we are happy that we did.
So early life, you lived in Silicon Valley. So talk about a little bit about that. You know, there are a lot of founders here who say, where should I live? Where should my kids go to school? How should I hire my first sales guy? How did you go about thinking through all that when you were one of the early guys?
You're talking about 2019, yeah. Right? So see, we had, okay, I have to again go back a little bit, because before I moved, I started, like our US office was opened in 2015. So in fact, we were just talking about, we hired, instead of hiring I had the option to hire a VP of sales, right? That's what most Indian startups do. Like when you go out, you hire a VP of sales. But I decided I wasn't really comfortable because we didn't have a large enterprise sales business. So our whole idea was we want to build a complementary team. So I decided to hire a CEO as a president of our North America office, Dilawar Syed, and he was an org builder. And so we started creating a complementary team. Okay, we created a mid-market sales team, but we also created customer success teams, marketing teams, field marketing. So we wanted somebody who can be a local leader, who can be my thought partner, so that we can have low bandwidth conversations, but also understand the culture of the company and build what is necessary, as opposed to hiring a VP of sales. So that, and that I started doing in 2015. I eventually moved in 2019, but at that time we had already 200 employees here.
So then talk to us about 2019, fast forward to the IPO. How was that journey? You had to hire the whole management team, I guess, right? CFO, CMO.
Yeah.
And
see, I think, see, when all of us founders here, when we live in the startup world and ecosystem, it's like a world on its own. There's a lot of, like the founder's life is challenging, like Vinod said, but there's also a lot of happiness. The VCs are part of that ecosystem. But when you start thinking about going public, my first feeling was, oh my God, this feels like a completely different world. When the bankers come and talk to you, like the Morgan Stanley and the JP Morgan, and so then you are actually going and pitching to the Wall Street investors. So that world, we live in a cocoon, right? And especially if you're an India startup ecosystem, that cocoon is like very safe. At $100 million of ARR, I was being celebrated and given awards and so on. And when you go here, like people are like, okay, who are you? What are you? Like, what is Freshworks? And it was like standing at the edge of a different world, but I really enjoyed that learning process. So, and my biggest message to all founders who are thinking about eventually going public is, I think if I were to summarize, it's a long process, but if I were to summarize, it's about getting your company operationally ready and execution ready. So what I mean by operationally ready is having all the back office systems, the accounting system, financial systems, the control on spending and so on, so that you can actually close the books on time and create a clean financial statement in a reasonable amount of time so that you can go and report on the numbers. And that is like the validity of those numbers are really, really correct. The public company standards are high. And execution ready means that's the harder part for us, right? Like, how can you clearly predict how much revenue you're going to make this quarter and this year? Because the market expects guidance. And it was even more challenging for Freshworks because, see, we have a lot of SMB customers and we have a lot of customers who just add seats. So we don't control that. They don't tell. So if you're doing negotiating annual or multi-year contracts, it's easier. For us, people just come and buy 2 more seats and put their credit card. So there's no way for us to predict how much expansion revenue is going to come. And it was very hard to get that nailed down. So being execution ready and operation ready is a big journey. We almost spent 18 months practicing life, trying to get better and better every quarter. We used to see, okay, what is the, like we used to present to our board, what is the variance in how we predicted and how we ended up? And I have a nice chart which goes from all red to all green. It just means, okay, we predicted right. It may not mean that we grew healthy, but it was a challenging but very enjoyable meeting. It was tough. We were on a tight deadline, but it was a great learning opportunity.
So I remember you ringing the bell on Wall Street.
Pressing the button, actually.
Pressing the button and being on Times Square and so forth. What was your thinking at that time? How many years did it take? And what was your feeling at that time?
So this is a question that I got often immediately after the IPO. So we started the company in October 2010. So we went public on September 22nd, 2021. So it was 11 years. See, I think broadly, there were three emotions that were running through my mind. The first one was obviously happiness, right? Like, because this is like, even if you are in the valley, like taking your company public is like a true measure of success. And that's why I actually said, I feel like an Indian athlete has gotten a chance to, like, has won the Olympic gold, right? In 2019, I told my employees, I feel like an Indian athlete has gotten a chance to run in the Olympics. Should I go and run or not? So I actually connected it and said, okay, I feel like I won the gold. Now I'm saying, and like after winning the gold, you can't go and sleep. You have to continue to work hard and keep winning. But the dominant emotion was happiness. And the second one was fulfillment, like to all the early employees and the early investors who had trusted Freshworks. I had created a currency. I don't think it's Freshworks' fault that the stock price fell, but we had created a currency. It was a $10 billion IPO. The stock went up. So it was and the third dominant emotion was like new responsibility and pressure of taking money from public investors. And so pressure is a privilege right now. See, we like really inspired a lot of founders to say that Freshworks, first India started to go public. Now everybody's watching every quarter. So, but I keep telling my people, like, pressure is a privilege. Now we have to go and live up to that reputation and perform. So,
which is where you're at now, right? Market has fallen, multiples have fallen. So how are you dealing with that? Because employees would come in at a $20 price. Now look at them being underwater, or early employees who thought they made millions only made hundreds of thousands. How are you dealing with that in the company?
So the first thing is when I talk to employees, I talk about what we have done in the business. And I'm just reminded, I'm thinking, because yesterday I was reading the 2000 shareholder letter that Jeff Bezos wrote for Amazon shareholders. And if you open that Google for that letter, you would see that you can actually read that letter today, right? It starts with, ouch. Our share price is down 80% from the last time I wrote to you. And here are all the things that we have done as a company. We have grown our customers by so much. We have grown our revenue, our operating margin has improved. So I think the feeling is similar, right? So like our employees know that, okay, the share price is down, but it's not because of Freshworks. It's the overall market where we have been in a bull run. They're not happy about it, but I think everybody sees that, okay, it's the entire tech sector that's down. So that's number one. So I think the only thing we can do is focus on what we can control, and which is go and make your products better, make sure your existing customers are happier, and focus on creating a great environment for employees and a good culture. So the one clarification I would make is we give employees RSUs at $0. So it's not like they are issued ESOPs at 20 and then it's at 11 or 12. So they're not underwater technically. It's they've seen the price at 50. Nobody's happy to see it where it is now, but we will go through this. But if you ask me, I look at it the other way. Like, I'm glad that we got the IPO done. We raised $1 billion. So we are sitting with 1.2 billion in the bank, in control of our destiny. We can't control the share price, but we can continue to grow our revenues. We can maybe acquire companies if we find interesting opportunities. And markets are huge for us always. And so we will, at some point, we live in cycles, right? So we have been in a bull cycle, and now it's down, but cycles will come back.
So you sit at a vantage point where you see a lot of small businesses, medium businesses buy your stuff or don't renew and all that kind of stuff. So looking at the second half of the year, they're predicting a recession. So does that mean IT spend goes down, goes up, stays neutral? How are you viewing the second half of this year?
See, we are taking a cautious approach. So see, this time the macro is actually, we are not yet technically in a recession, right? But the markets are already reacting as if we are in a recession. So we have to wait one more quarter, but it looks like there is going to be an inflation and a recession happening at the same time. So there was an article from the Morgan Stanley leader, Ted Pick, who said, think of it as a fire and ice situation. So like the fire is inflation and ice is recession, and it's happening at the same time. So there is going to be impact. So like interest rates going up and cost of everything going up is going to cause some pullback. We are going to see that. But having said that, I'm saying that we are cautious because anecdotally, like if you go back to 2020, when COVID hit, we saw that Freshworks products were actually sought after by larger companies who wanted to get off of expensive systems. So we have like travel and hospitality companies, event management companies like StubHub. So they were coming to us and moving off of expensive system because they were saving millions of dollars by moving to this. So in that sense, our products are priced like that. So we are waiting and watching. So, but I think good advice, like as a CEO, my CFO and I are having a conversation that while we are in a strong position, but we are not going to, like we are watching, we are still continuing to hire, but we'll be smarter in our hiring. The job market is changing. There are layoffs everywhere. So more talent is available now. Maybe there'll be a reset. So we are making a new plan for the rest of the year, but we think we'll continue to invest in innovation and come back.
I'm not going to keep asking too many more questions. I want some of the entrepreneurs in the audience to ask some questions of Girish because he's seen it all. But no. One question for you. We had our enterprise conference this past year, and we had a session on remote work. And it was ironic. We had a breakout session for 20 people. We actually had 40 CEOs in that room talking about remote work, which was ironic, right? Everybody's sitting in a room saying, is anyone going to come back? Same thing I think I told you earlier. I was with a company in Pune earlier this year, IT services company. The CEO is sitting in a 12-story building, and he had sent an email out to all his 6,000 employees asking them who is going to come back to work. And he said 4 people said they would come back to work, right? It was crazy. So when you look at all this stuff, how do you look at the future of work, remote work? How is Freshworks and you looking at it?
I think this is the top of mind for every CEO that I meet. And you have to understand what is happening here. See, during COVID, we switched to work from home or remote work, and it was completely understandable. People were afraid to come and meet. But today we have lived through COVID. COVID is making the final herd immunity. Maybe like we are now it's like everywhere. Everybody's got COVID, but it's more like a flu and people are down for 2-3 days and then they're back. So governments have stopped the testing requirements and so on. So it's fair to say that after 2.5 years, we are probably getting back to normal. See, we are all attending a conference here. People are going to the malls. People are going to the movies. When I go to a temple in India, I see Freshworks mask, employees in a temple. they're going to weddings. So restaurants are full. When we went to New York, like it was like packed. So people are okay to get on with their life in all other aspects, but people don't want to come back to work, to office. Now this is something where, now this is a dance where it's between maybe the management teams and the employees, where employees are now used to the flexibility. And I'm also saying I get it. Like I'm also, if I go to the office in Seattle, I will be in a room and doing Zoom meetings. I might as well do it from home. So I get the convenience aspect of it. So we have gotten into a habit, and these habits are hard, right? Like if you quit your job and don't do anything for 2 years, 2.5 years, you will really struggle to get back to work, right? It's something like that, where people are now used to the flexibility that work from home offers, and nobody wants to commit to coming back. And we cannot force it. Right? Today, with the talent market, if a CEO forces this, it's going to be faced with. So I think at Freshworks, what we are saying is, okay, let's try and ease back into work. Because truly, as a founder, I know that, see, if you want to build culture, if you want to build a great team that understands each other, that questions each other, that learns from each other, like what Vinod said, you need those interpersonal connections. You need those lunch meetings, the parties, and work cannot always be on Zoom with an agenda, with a PowerPoint, with 10 strangers or 10 people talking and end on the dot saying, I have to jump to my next call. That is not truly how you can build those connections. So I am a believer that, and I actually don't know how to build a great company with great culture if everybody's on Zoom all the time. And we are hiring thousands of people every year. So for people to experience the Freshworks culture and magic, I want them to come to office. So our strategy is, how can we ease them in? Like we have said in India, so for most of the product engineering folks, we have said, please try and come 3 days a week. For some functions like global selling from India, like people have to work in the night shift and sell. So they are coming 5 days a week and they are happy, because it's not very, see, if you're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, when your parents are sleeping in the other room, you don't want to be taking calls from the other. It's not a great environment. So those folks have come back to the office. So we're taking a very localized approach. We are still collecting data. So in the Bay Area, for example, a lot of our employees have gone to different places, like maybe they're in rural Kentucky and so on with Bay Area salaries. So we have to figure out how to bring them back. So
that's good points. Good points. Any questions from the audience? Is there a mic we can pass around? Oh, great. I think there's one in the front row here. Right up here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was wondering if you had any perspective. I know, Indian companies serving the global market is a huge story and something that's like what companies in India want to do. But what about the domestic market? Because there's a huge population, huge amount of small, mid-sized businesses. Digital infrastructure is getting better. Do you have any perspective on that domestic SaaS market?
So I'll tell you, to my knowledge, to my limited knowledge, every SaaS founder who has started by focusing on the domestic market has actually gone through hell, because Indian customers hijack the roadmap. They're very hard to convince. The best way to win India customers is Indian customers like to buy global products. So you win globally, you can win Indian customers. That's the best way to win.
Next question. Let's see. There's one back there. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Girish. It's a wonderful session we are having here. By the way, I use Freshworks.
Thank you.
It's a great product. Okay, I really love it. Okay, so when you started in 2010, right? There was Salesforce, there was Zendesk, there were so many other desks.
There were 600 help desks.
There's
a website called helpdesk.com.
Yeah. And still you went with that. Why was that? And what was
So I have been building customer support help desk for the last 18 years. So if you look at in 2004, the concept of multi-channel customer service was businesses used to listen to customers via like a call center, telephone, email, chat on the website, and a contact us form on the website. This was multi-channel customer service in 2004. So in 2010, the fresh idea there is a reason why we call the company Fresh Desk, because we want to build a fresh help desk. It came from a personal life incident. I was moving back from Austin to Chennai, and there was shipping company which was transporting my household goods broke my fancy 40-inch Samsung LCD TV. So 2.5 months later, my TV came broken. I thought I have insurance from the company, so I tried contacting customer care, and long story short, 5.5 months of back and forth, calling them, emailing them, submitting all the documents. They simply wouldn't do the right thing. They wouldn't process the insurance claim. So and this is early 2010, I shared my story online in a forum where I got the reference for the shipping company, and the community started engaging. The same day, the president of the company came and apologized. Next day, money was in the bank. So when I started researching what is happening, I saw that there is a new paradigm shift in the balance of power. Like Twitter and Facebook were just starting. Customers were using Twitter and Facebook for customer service. That is where I got the idea that, hey, that we can expand the concept of multi-channel customer service beyond email and phone and chat to actually include. We were the first truly social help desk where Facebook messaging, Facebook posts, public posts, and Twitter. So all of that can be converted into tickets. So that is the fresh idea for Fresh Desk. Over the years, if you see, today, the concept of multi-channel customer service evolved even further. I'll just say that for the benefit of the audience. So telephony moved from ePABX-based contact centers to cloud telephony. So chat moved from website chat to in-app chat, mobile app chat, SDKs, and in-app web app chat, like the one that Intercom and others started. And today it has again moved to third-party messaging apps. So in one sense, you can say businesses have moved the public humiliation they were getting on Twitter and Facebook to more, again, a private channel on WhatsApp or Instagram Messenger or Facebook Messenger or Apple Business Chat. But with the new millennial generation, support is now moved to chat. And in the phone business, you had IVR. Businesses save millions of dollars with IVR automation. When you press 1 to know your balance, press 2 to pay your balance, right? That automation was missing on the chat world. That's where the bots come in. Like the bots can handle all that so that businesses can save. So we have been closely not just looking at what's happening, but also shaping and building the industry along with it. So today, like the evolution of customer service over the last 18 years has been phenomenal, and maybe something else will come in future also, but we want to be there ready to solve the problem of helping businesses delight their customers.
A question in the front here.
Hey, Girish. So when you moved from Chennai to the US, why did you set up the base in the Bay Area rather than, say, rural Kentucky? I don't think you have any engineering here.
So I think a different question to ask is, what would you, if you're doing it today, where would you do? Definitely, I won't do rural Kentucky because there's no, I told you, as the captain, I wanted to field the team. And yeah, I understand that. So I think even, see, Bay Area, in 2019, I came because I'll tell you, the opportunity in my mind for Freshworks was to recreate the Valley playbook. See, when you see companies that scaled in the Valley, take any company, take ServiceNow or Salesforce or Zendesk or HubSpot or Atlassian, all these companies, especially HubSpot, Atlassian, Zendesk, they were all at 100 million revenue a few years ago. And in 7 or 8 years, they were able to take the company to $1 billion or $2 billion in revenue, right? So there is a playbook in the Valley. And I was not satisfied being celebrated at 100 million as a successful startup. I really wanted to come and learn and replicate that playbook, because when you do that, you are creating massive value for the employees. So, and just think about it. I could meet Eric Yuan of Zoom or Jeff Lawson, all within a few blocks of each other, and they're all willing to help. They're all willing to share their stories and help. So that is the power of the Valley, right? And that's why I moved here. But then COVID stuck, and a lot of people also moved, and the Valley is not the same, but we hope we can bring back all of that here. But I think you can. The only other alternatives are Seattle or Austin in my mind. Sorry, I'm giving long answers for every shot.
Question up front here.
Hey, Girish. Hey, Mark. Good session. I got a question about VC, right? When Vinod was talking, he was saying it's always good to find a good VC partner. did you feel the same about your VC? And what would you say the best advice from one of your VCs?
See, I think at Freshworks, I think we have been very, very fortunate to have a lot of inbound, and we were able to work with the best VCs. So we have Accel, Sequoia, Tiger Global, and Google Capital. So I think we have gotten a lot of help in the early stages. Accel really helped us a lot. Shaker and I are almost like, he's like an elder brother to me now. Over the years, we have built a very special bond. Like, as being a founder, there are so many things you cannot share with anybody, right? You can't share with employees. And sometimes you can't like go with all the problems to your board members. But with Shaker, I had that special relationship where I would say, like, if you were the CEO of Freshworks, what would you do, right? Like, I use him as a sounding partner. So with Google Capital, I think we had a different kind of support where they could bring some of the leaders in Google to help us with like branding in a multi-product environment, or how to build a channel program and so on. So I think with Tiger, they could connect me to like really anybody, and in whether in Brazil or a customer in Brazil or in Australia, they had a big portfolio. Sequoia also, early years of Sequoia, like I think once they realized how like Freshworks could be like a very successful company. When I got access to the Sequoia US network, like I think the portfolio of Sequoia is like huge. The power of Sequoia is, so I think each VC brings a different value system. And I think we have been fortunate to kind of really work with some of the best.
Okay, one last question. Yeah, go ahead.
So
Last
Girish,
question. Yeah.
Girish here. In the process of becoming a public company, I think it's a long journey. Every entrepreneur wants to build a billion-dollar company. What is the time frame you felt, yes, we can build a public company and a big company, and what signals you saw in the process of building from the company?
See, I think I spoke about this at NASDAQ. Clearly I'll tell you, when I started Freshworks, I'll share this journey, right? So I was in Chennai visiting my aunt, and there was an elderly person, and I took blessings from that person. And he said, create jobs for 1,000 people. I told that person, I don't think, see, we are a product company. Maybe I'll hire 25 or 40 people. We may not hire 1,000 people. But he said, who knows what God has in store for you. And maybe let's see what happens. So, and I'm saying this because I did not start Freshworks thinking we will dreaming. I don't claim to say, like we are going to make a dent in the universe or change the world. I'm not that. I think coming from humble backgrounds, our dreams were very limited. My first dream was to get to $1 million of revenue. I didn't even think we'll be VC fundable. So who will fund a help desk is what I thought. It was boring help desk, right? So, but I wrote about it in my founder's letter about dreaming in increments. Like and you heard Vinod Khosla say, you have to expand your thinking. I think it happened to me with every round of fundraise. Like if you're able to think about, hey, what is possible? It kept growing, right? And this event, the answer to your question, happened in 2017 in Bangalore, in a restaurant called Zen, a Chinese restaurant in Leela Palace, I think. Shaker and I were sitting, and our projection for 2018 was that we're going to hit $100 million soon. So Shaker was asking me, Girish, what do you want? What is your plan? Like, I asked Shaker, what do you mean? Like, he said, you can actually become very rich. You can sell the company. Once you reach 100 million, somebody will buy you. You have a nice SMB business also, and many enterprises would want that. Or you can actually leave a legacy, right? So if you can be the first Indian startup to go public. And I think on that day itself, I told him, like, okay, then that's what I want to do. Because, like, say, at that time, I think I was 43 or something. And what would I do with only money, right? So I don't have anything else to do interesting with my life. So, so I wanted to run Freshworks and truly building Freshworks as a global product company. So I think that's when the idea really came in 2017.
Awesome. On that note, Girish, you've gone from Madras to NASDAQ. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.